Hello, actors. It's Noel from the Actors Feedback Forum, and today I want to talk to you about my opinion regarding the difference between stage directions and scene notes. Many of my instructors and coaches have told me over the years, you should just ignore all of the stage directions in a script. The problem with that is the term stage directions is rather vague, and I don't agree that all stage directions should be ignored in a script. What I do agree with is that most of the time, scene notes should be totally ignored. I differentiate between scene notes and stage direction. Technically, the definition of a stage direction is instructions written in the script that dictate how an actor moves or what they should do in the scene. That's a lot different from a scene note that might describe your surroundings, like I'm standing in front of a large garage door and it's raining. Those are things that we could totally ignore for a self-taped audition. Within the confines of this little rectangle, we're not going to worry about the weather or the backdrop or the color of the light that we're standing in. All of those things are not relevant to a self-taped audition. But stage directions regarding the scene that we're auditioning for, that we are auditioning, those are critically important. And many times they refer to specific things, including the usage of props, for instance, taking a drink from your coffee cup or answering a phone call, and regarding physical actions, which we need to do our best to approximate within this limited self-taped audition frame. So stage directions are not to be ignored. They should be strongly considered, and I believe that we should do our best within the confines and limitations of a self-taped audition to follow the stage directions. In a post I just recently made on the subject, I wrote, "In my humble opinion, there are stage directions and there are scene notes. In my mind, this is an example of a scene note. Standing in the driveway with a gun to her head, red and blue lights are flashing against the garage. For a self-taped audition, it makes sense to me that I would ignore all of that. I don't need to be in front of a garage door. I'm going to be in front of my typical plain self-taped audition backdrop. I don't need to change my RGB lights to police effect and have red and blue flashing for the self-taped audition. I would not have a prop gun to my head for this part of the audition. Stage directions, however, as I mentioned earlier, can be much more critical to the self-taped audition, and I printed the technical definition of stage directions. For example, she answers the phone. It is her sister, and they begin to chat. Of course, in a self-taped audition, you're going to want to pick up an actual phone and actually have a conversation with your sister. So there again, that stage direction is not to be ignored. More examples. He takes a sip from his beer and starts to speak but pauses. Because the beer is specifically referenced in the stage directions in the script, I think it's critically important to show that in the self-taped audition. I would pick up a beer bottle filled with water or whatever, or a mug that's filled with apple juice or something that approximates beer, and I would take a sip from my beer in order to follow those stage directions within the confines of the self-taped audition. Many instructors will tell you reality breeds reality. If you can do it for real, then do it. Because trying to fake it is only going to breed unreality and disbelief. It's going to put you in your head. It's going to put your viewers off. Another example, the officer pulls her service revolver and holds it at the ready as she enters the house. Personally, if I had to do that for a self-taped audition, I would absolutely make the motion of pulling my service revolver and holding it at the ready as I enter the house. I might keep my hands below the frame so that I don't have to have a prop weapon in frame, but I am going to honor that prop, and I'm going to make sure that I'm indicating it in my self-taped audition. The doctor takes a scalpel from the nurse and begins a long incision. Again, I might use a pencil or something, and I might take it from the nurse and begin my long incision. I'm not going to ignore that prop, that stage direction, because it's critical to the scene. It's specifically mentioned. Here's the conundrum that led to this whole discussion. The particular scene had to do with the explicit act of the horrible tragedy of violent suicide. And the whole point of the scene was to show this tragic suicide graphically. Now, that's a tough thing to do in a self-taped audition, simply because we don't have the visual effects capabilities, and it's a gory thing, and we don't want to go there. But we need to do our best to convey the heaviness of this scene, to convey the immensity of it, the weight, the seriousness of it, the drama. My personal opinion on this is that this is one of those very rare occasions when using a prop weapon might be appropriate in a self-taped audition, because you do not want to do this with finger guns or miming it or holding up a fake green plastic water pistol or something that's going to take you right out of this serious, heavy scene. You need to continue that suspension of disbelief for this self-taped audition. In this particular case, I think procuring a legitimate stage gun that looks good on screen and using it for this bit of the self-taped audition would be appropriate. So, as I said, and I'll just read this whole thing, in a scene that is explicitly about the tragedy of violent suicide, that's an extremely critical stage direction. And there's no way to keep that prop out of the frame and achieve that action. So this is one of those times where you would actually use a prop gun. It only needs to appear in the frame for that moment when you bring it to your head and indicate that that's what's going to happen. And it doesn't need to linger there for long. Because it's such a gory thing we're trying to portray here, I would never do anything to try to present that within the confines of a self-taped audition. My personal choice would be to cut to a black screen. As soon as I did that action with the prop weapon, I would cut to a black screen, because that's going to tell the story effectively within the limitations of this self-taped audition environment that we are in. Stage directions versus scene notes. Tell me what you think in the comments. Do you make a differentiation between the two? Have you even ever thought about it? It's one of these things we have to consider when we're doing self-taped auditions. This is its own animal, with living within this rectangle. And sometimes we have to do things to get the self-taped audition to work that we would never do on set in the actual production. Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching this video. Please subscribe to the channel. And remember, if you want to join a bunch of your fellow actors who are serious and dedicated and will motivate you to keep doing the work, please visit actorsfeedbackforum.com. Link in the description. See you next video.